process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member.
Thank you, Representative Soto. Now, Mr. Fulcher, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Lowenthal, Ranking Member Gosar. Things look just a little bit different from this angle. Prior to serving in Congress, I had the privilege of serving in the Idaho State Senate for a number of years. And the only reason I bring that up is because the building that I served in the Idaho State Capitol, is heated by geothermal energy. And it's not new. That system that heats that facility and the entire complex was put in place in 1892. Not 1992, but 1892. And we are blessed to have the largest geothermal system in the USA there. We've got more than 6 million square feet of residences, commercial buildings, and other properties that are heated or have electricity as a result of that geothermal facility. The user fees that are associated with that provide the maintenance and the upgrades, and frankly, it works great. And sometimes I think we have a tendency to overlook geothermal. All of the dialogue seems to be around different sources, but geothermal can be a fabulous source when and where it's available. It's base load. You can ramp it up, you can ramp it down. It's renewable. All the water is re-injected into the aquifer that is used for that. Very low carbon, and if it's done right, can be very cost effective. So here's the situation. We've got good news, bad news, as is the case with most pieces of legislation. The good news is we've got a lot of it, and it's in a very broad geography across many states, but largely in the West. If there's bad news, it is location specific, and most of it is on federal land, which makes it a little bit harder to develop. It's estimated that about 90% of the reserves are on federal land. And just as a note, in our state, that's about 2/3 of our land mass. So that brings me to the purpose of H.R. 4026. It's really geared to make the exploration process for geothermal just a little bit easier. So the Enhancing Geothermal Production Act, or on Federal Lands Act, really has two primary components. The first one is it would provide a categorical exclusion for geothermal exploration sites. So that basically means that the full NEPA would not be required for the exploration phase. And that can mean that the process goes from years to months for the exploration phase. The second primary thing that it does, that it would permit a non-competitive leasing on adjacent federal land for entities that have a project going. So if there is a existing leaseholder, they would have a first right of refusal on adjacent federal land if there was an opportunity to expand that project. So Chairman Lowenthal, Ranking Member, this I believe is a win-win piece of legislation. It does encourage good, clean energy with a wise development process, and it is supported by the Department of the Interior. I think Ranking Member Gosar pointed this out, but Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would like to enter into the record a letter of support from the Department of the Interior for H.R. 4026.
So ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member.